All right, we are back with part 2 of the video. So this one says, given this function and the domain, okay, quick note, domain, that's our x values, of -1, 0, and 2. What is the specified range? So it wants to know the y values here. So it's given us 3 different x values to plug in. So that means I'm going to do the same problem 3 different times, once with each of these numbers. So my first one, every time I'm supposed to put an x, I'm just going to put parentheses around it. And I'm going to write it 3 different times here. And each time I'm plugging in a different number. So for the first one, I'm going to use my domain value of -1. I plug that into both places. And then I'm going to simplify with my order of operations. So here, order of operations tells me I do my exponent first. So I just have this -1 squared. -1 squared is -1 times -1, which would give us +1. So that means I have 4 times 1 plus 3 times -1 minus 1. Next, order of operations would tell us we multiply and divide from left to right. So I see 2 parts in here where I need to multiply. 4 times 1 is 4. And then I have 3 times -1, which will give me a -3. And then I have -1. So my next step in this problem is I add and subtract from left to right. So I'm going to start on the left. I have 4 minus 3. 4 minus 3 will give me 1, and 1 minus 1 will give me 0. So 0 is my first range value in this problem. Now, my next one, I have to plug in 0 for my second domain value. So in this one, let's see, I'm going to start again with my exponent. 0 squared is 0. So that means I just have 4 times 0 plus 3 times 0 minus 1. Then I'm going to multiply and divide from left to right. So I have 2 places I multiply. 4 times 0 is 0. 3 times 0 is 0 minus 1. And then I add and subtract from left to right. So 0 plus 0 is 0 minus 1. Just gives me -1. So my second range value is -1. And then for my last one, I have to plug in this last domain value of 2. And so in this problem, I again do my exponent first. In this one, I have 2 squared. 2 squared means 2 times 2, which is 4. And so I simplified just that. I wrote everything else. Now I have to multiply and divide from left to right. So I'm going to start on the left. I have 4 times 4, which is 16. And then 3 times 2, which is 6. And then add and subtract from left to right. So on the left, I have 16 plus 6, which is going to give us 22. Minus 1 would give us 21. So those are our 3 range values. And if it wasn't multiple choice, I'd go through and I'd figure out range. And I'd write my set. And I'm going to go from my lowest to my highest number. So my smallest is -1, and then 0, and then 21. And the answer choice that matches up with that is going to be this answer choice C. All right, number 15. It wants to know which of these could describe a function. Now remember, in your function, your x values can't repeat. So there's just a note to myself. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to look at my x values. Now remember, ordered pairs, it's x and then y. So I'm just looking at the first number in each ordered pair. All right, so for A, I have 4, -1, -2, and 4. Uh-oh, that's 2 4s, 4 and 4. And they have different y values with them, so that is not a function. Answer choice B, I have -6, 1, -3, up, and 1 again, and that 1's paired with a 7 and a 9. That is not a function. If we graphed those, that would not pass the vertical line test. In part C, or answer choice C, I have 5, 4, 6, up, and 4 again. And that 4 is with a -5 and a 2. That's not a function either. So I think it's answer choice D, but you always need to go back and make sure. So my x values are 3, -6, 2, and 1. None of those repeated, so my answer choice, my correct answer there is in fact answer choice D. All right, now on to question 16. And I just mentioned the test we're going to use for this, but which of the following is a function? So for a function, we're going to use our vertical line test. And we've done that once already, but we take our vertical line and move it across the graph. And if it touches more than one point at a time, it's not a function. So let's look at A. I'm moving my vertical line across the graph, but look, right here with these 2 points, those are directly above each other. That does not pass the vertical line test. That is not a function. Answer choice B. Okay, vertical line across the graph. Right here already, there's 2 points right above each other. That does not pass the vertical line test either. Answer choice C. I'm moving it directly across the graph, and as soon as I get on that figure, even just right here, there's 2 points right above each other. That is not a function. Answer choice D. I'm going to move it across, and look, it is only touching 1 point on my pen at a time. That passes the vertical line test. That is a function. All right, number 17. This asks us to look at the data here and wants to know what is the slope of the line that contains those data points. Well, if all those are on the same line, it doesn't matter which two we pick to find our slope. So quick reminder, our slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And you can choose any points you want. I'm going to choose the ones on the end because I like that 14, 0. It's positive numbers. And the other one there, it's just the one right beside it. So my points here I'm using are 8, -1 and 14, 0. And again, you could choose any of those points, any pair, and it's still going to give you the same answer. So I'm going to start. I'm going to label. This is my x for my first ordered pair, my y for my first, my x for my second, and my y for my second. And I'm going to plug into my formula. So my y for my second is 0, minus my y for my first, which is -1. We have to be careful with the negatives there. Divided by my x for my second, which is 14, minus my x for my first, which is 8. So one thing to be careful about, when we have minus and negative is the same as plus. This really says 0 plus 1, which is 1. And 14 minus 8 gives us 6. So our slope for this problem is 1/6, which is answer choice D. And if you picked a different, 2 other points instead, that would have also given us that same answer. All right, number 18. To cater a dinner, Anthony charges a flat fee, plus an additional charge for each meal he must prepare. The chart shows Anthony's total fees for catering various dinners. Based on the table, how much does Anthony charge for each meal? Well, every meal, that sounds like it's changing the same amount every time. Okay, it says he charges a certain amount, additional charge for each meal. So if it's going up a different amount or a certain amount each time, we're just talking about slope here. The rate of change, how much it changes every time. Rate of change, slope, same thing. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to look at 2 of these points. Let's start with the first 2 because they're smaller numbers. That's all. This one is 10, 120. And the other is 20, 190. So I'm going to find my slope here. So remember slope, this is y minus y over x minus x. So I'm going to label. This is my x for my first, my y for my first, my x for my second, my y for my second. So my y for my second is 190, minus my y for my first, that's 120, divided by my x for my second, which is 20, minus my x for my first, which is 10. So when we simplify, 190 minus 120 gives us 70. 20 minus 10 gives me 10. But we always, always, always have to simplify. Remember, a fraction is just a division problem. So all this says right here is 70 divided by 10. 70 divided by 10 is 7. So that's 7, okay? That's showing how much he's charging per meal. And we can look at this a different way. These numbers here, these came from our total fee. So this was our money on top. On the bottom, the 20 and the 10, these were our number of meals. So when we break that down, if we just have 7 or 7 over 1, that's showing $7 for every one meal. And sometimes it helps to write those labels in there so you know what it is you're actually talking about rather than just looking at a bunch of numbers. So go ahead and label things, it helps. So this is $7 for every meal, which is answer choice B. All right, number 19. So number 19, it says the vertical line test is a quick way to check if a graph is a function. If a vertical line can be drawn which touches the graph at more than one point, then the graph is not a function. Use the vertical line test to determine which of the following graphs represents a function, so that means it is a function. All that first paragraph was just telling you what the vertical line test is. So I'm going to go through and I'm just going to see which ones of these are functions. So answer choice 1 here. Move my vertical line across. Oh, it's touching a bunch of points there. That is not a function. Answer choice answer choice 2. These aren't A, B, C, D. These are 1, 2, 3, 4. Answer choice 2, I move it across, and it only touches one point at a time. This is a function. Answer choice 3. Oh, even just right here, we can see that vertical line is touching 2 points at a time. This is not a function. And answer choice 4 here, I move my vertical line across my graph. It only touches 1 point at a time. So this is a function. Now notice our answer choices are a little weird here. It's giving us multiple answers because there were 2 that were functions. 2 and 4 were both functions. So let's go through our answer choices and make sure we get the right one. So answer choice A says that 1 and 2 are both functions. Well, 1 is not a function, so it's not going to be A. Answer choice B says 2 and 3 are functions. 2 is a function, that's good, but 3 is not, so that's not going to be our right answer. Answer choice C says 2 and 4. Hey, 2 and 4 were both functions. I think that's it. Answer choice D says 4. 4 is a function, but the key word here is only. Since it says only, we know that's not correct because graph 2 was also a function. So our answer for number 19 is going to be C. All right, number 20. So this one wants to know what the range of the function is. So remember, range are your y values. And it's giving us this domain. Domain is x. So every single one of these is an x value. So this is another one of those where we're going to do the same problem, 3x plus 2, 3 different times. So 3x plus 2 and 3x plus 2. The first time I'm going to plug in negative 2. So 3 times negative 2 plus 2. And I'm going to follow my order of operations. My order of operations tells me I need to multiply first. So 3 times negative 2 is negative 6 plus 2. Negative 6 plus 2 gives me negative 4. The second one here, I'm going to plug in negative 1. So again, following the order of operations, 3 times negative 1 is negative 3 plus 2. Negative 3 plus 2 is going to give us negative 1. And then our last one, we have to plug in x is 2. 3 times 2 gives us 6. 6 plus 2 gives us 8. So these 3 numbers are our range values. Now let's write this out, our range. And remember, we typically rate these from smallest to biggest numbers. So negative 4 is our smallest, negative 1, and 8. So the answer choice that matches that one is going to be answer choice B. All right, number 21. This one's tricky. Be careful. This one says which of the following graphs is not a function. Remember, a function, x values can't repeat, has to pass the vertical line test. But which one is not a function? So which one does not pass the vertical line test? So I'm going to go through, use my vertical line, move it across the graph, and right away it looks like A is not going to be our function there. That vertical line that my pin is right on top of, it's touching every single point. So A is not a function, but let's be sure. I'm going to move my pin across graph B. It touches 1, 1, 1, 1. Hey, that's a function. Answer choice C, it's only touching 1 point at a time on that line. And same for answer choice D. So for number 21, A was our correct answer. That problem, that was not a function. All right, number 22. Christina is scaling one of the cliffs in Yosemite National Park. At 11 a.m., she had climbed 120 feet. By 3 p.m., she had reached an altitude of 300 feet. Find the average rate of change in Christina's altitude during the 4 hours. So we already are being told it's 4 hours. We don't even need to worry about the times there. So that time of 3 p.m. and 11 a.m. is not really going to be important here because they're telling us 4 hours. Now we do need to find out how much the altitude that she's gone has changed. So she ended up at 300 feet and started at 120. So let's go ahead and subtract 300 minus 120 is going to give us 180 feet here. So she's gone 180 feet. She's gone, and she went from 120 to 300, so she went up. That's a positive. She's gone 180 feet in the 4 hours. So we have this fraction here. This is our rate of change, and we're going to need to simplify. If we divide here, 180 divided by 4. Okay, we can even work it out. 4 goes into 18. 4 times 4 is 16. 18 minus 16 gives us 2. 4 goes into 25, and that's even there, and that leaves us with 0. So if we simplify, we get 45 feet every 1 hour. That's the change that she has made in her altitude. And she was going up because it was positive there. So the answer choice that matches here is going to be answer choice C. 45 feet every hour. Okay, problem 23. This wants to know the domain. Domain are your x values. So remember in an ordered pair, it's x and then y. So all we're looking at here is your first number. So we have 2, 3, 2, and 1. Now remember, we like to write them in order. So our smallest is 1, 2, 2, and 3. But don't forget, if there's a number that repeats, we actually don't use it again. We only write it there the one time. So our domain values that we're looking at are 1, 2, and 3. And that right here is going to match answer choice B. All right, we got 2 more problems here. Number 24, we're being asked to give the domain. Domain are your x values. So when we read x values, we look on the graph from left to right. All right, so I'm going to start on my graph on the left here. This has a point at the end, not an arrow. So it does not keep going on forever. This is where we're beginning our graph. And if I look at that, that's at right here, that says x is -4. And we keep going over and over and over. And look, this dot here is our stopping point. And this is where x is 5. So this is going from where x is -4 to x is 5. And it includes every point in between. Every decimal, every fraction, positive, negative, whatever. Everything that's in between those. So that's when we use our inequalities to represent that. So answer choice A, it shows it going from -4 to 5. The x's are somewhere in there. If you were to write it like this for D, D would be written if you had a discrete graph, if you had points on your graph. You're not going to use it for a continuous graph like we're looking at here. Okay, one more problem here. We're going to look at question 25. Now, question 25 here, let me get that straightened out so y'all can see. Question 25 asks, what is the slope? All right, so we're looking at slope here of the line that goes through these 2 points. So slope, we're looking at change in y over our change in x. So I'm going to go back, I'm going to label these points. I'm going to say this is x for my first, y for my first, x for my second, and y for my second. And I'm going to fill this in. My y for my second ordered pair, whoops, I wrote 1 instead of 2. This is y for my second. My y for my second is 1, minus my y for my first, which is -7, divided by my x for my second, minus my x for my first. Now we do need to be really careful here. Minus the negative is the same as plus. So this is the same as 1 plus 7, which is 8, and 9 minus 4, which gives us 5. So our slope for this one is 8 over 5, which is answer choice B. Hopefully this video has helped explain some of the problems on your practice test, and hopefully everyone's going to do great on the real thing.